There's something about that StreamYard countdown music that just kind of groovy. I don't know. Maybe this should be the permanent intro of the show. Whatever. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Go Talk with Marcus, powered by Poddex, fueled by Go Fuel. First of all, before we get into all of the good stuff, today's Justin's birthday. Oh, yesterday. This will be out before the game. Yesterday was Justin's birthday. And I feel, given that I've known Justin Marville, the hashtag thisJUSTin sports show for almost 2 years now, that not knowing that our birthdays is this close is a crime against humanity.
It's an indictment on you because I know. So it is an indictment on you. I'm very well aware.
Of course, you know, because you know your birthday and my birthday. I didn't know today was your birthday, dude.
Yes, it is indeed. So, like you said, let's before we get the good stuff. Like this isn't the good stuff. This is the good stuff right here.
Well, I mean, look. 75 is a great year. You look great.
77.
Sorry, 77. Fantastic. More life to you, bro. 77. Not many people that look like us get to 77. So, happy for you. Now to what we're here for. It's to talk about game one of the NBA Finals. Boston gets the job done on the road, 120 to 108. I actually saw it before the show. Someone bet $75. I think. On the score, they won $17,250 back then on FanDuel. So, whoever you are, while I am very happy for you for making bank, I also envy you because I can't seem to get back $200 on a $5 parlay for over/under in the NFL. So, that's unfortunate. Let's start with the big one, right? Because for those of you guys who didn't see the show on Wednesday, Justin was here with the JT and Don, and we were talking about Steph Curry's all-time ranking. And all-time great players, like every all-time great player has at least one iconic moment specifically in the finals, and some have more than one, right? Like LeBron's got his game 7, but he's also got the 51 8-8 game, the J.R. Smith game from a couple years ago in the finals. Jordan has all types of moments in the finals. Kobe's got his moments. Shaq's got his moments. Like all the all-time greats have their moments, and it looked like in the first quarter, after going, while it's officially 6 for 8, I mean, the full 60-foot heave or however many feet it was at the end of the first quarter, I don't really count. So to go 6 of 7 from 3 in the first quarter with 21 points, it looked like this was going to be like finally Steph Curry was going to have his moment. He ends up scoring 13 points over the last 3 quarters, didn't hit a shot in the last 6. Now, people are saying that Steph Curry choked. Do you think Steph Curry choked?
No, because I think too much of that rhetoric always then takes away from what the other team does. And when I think about that, the memory that always comes to mind was when Mark Cuban came on first date when it was still Skip and Stephen A. And, you know, Skip loves to attack LeBron and said he famously choked in that 2011 finals against the Mavericks. And, you know, Cuban called him out and said, hold on, to say that is to take away what we would have done to make sure he didn't have a good finals. So I say all that to say we talked about it off camera to start. I was perplexed as what Boston was doing, allowing Steph Curry to go off. And this is not to say Steph Curry wasn't great in that first quarter, but Boston surely didn't make things harder. We talked about it on Wednesday. I said Boston was going to send that big, that's marketing screener. That big is going to come out, whether it be Al Horford, whether it be Robert Williams, and show aggressively. They're not going to double him, but they'll show aggressively, allow Marcus Smart, Jayson Tatum, or Jaylen Brown, whoever's marking him at the time, to recover. That did not happen. We all watched the drop coverage. We sat down, whether it be Al Horford, particularly Robert Williams. All of them dropped back in the paint. I don't know what they were guarding the paint for. So when Marcus Smart ran into screens, Steph Curry was coming off those screens wide open. All of those threes were uncontested.
Yep.
So it was not shocking to see that first quarter performance with the way Boston was playing. Why then I say he didn't choke is that what the coverage that Boston should have started with is what they ended up with. And they absolutely crowded Steph Curry and made Steph Curry play in traffic, which I thought Boston would have done to start. And I warned you all, I warned you, JT and Don, Boston are long-arm physical wing defenders. So they got up in him the bigs then stopped dropping back in the paint, showing hard aggressively on those screens. So Steph Curry just never had the space. Like, so I don't want to say that Steph Curry choked. Yes, you expect great players to overcome certain things, but I will credit Boston's defense for, taking away the airspace that Steph Curry previously had in the first quarter.
See, it's not that Steph Curry choked. And I've seen people on Twitter say that Steph Curry choked. He didn't choke, right? And it's not even because of the whole Boston defense thing. It's because the Warriors as a collective gave up a 17-0 run. It's not just Steph Curry didn't score. Nobody in a Golden State Warriors uniform scored until the deep run-out outlet pass from Curry to Thompson at the end of the game. But, like, outside of that, nobody was scoring. So it's not that Steph choked. A great defensive adjustment by Marcus Smart specifically, because he's the one that said it in the huddle. And it worked wonders. But the other thing, too, is as great as Steph Curry's first quarter was, it wasn't a great quarter. And it looks great because it's 6 of 7 with 21, and I did tweet about it, but he was hitting open. Steph Curry wasn't going unconscious. Steph Curry was, you give the greatest shooter of all time wide open shots, he's going to hit them. He's the greatest shooter of all time for a reason. This wasn't the Steph Curry. When we think of Steph Curry going unconscious, we think of 50 different chain dribble moves followed by a step back of some sort or some type of drive to the lane with an insane layup and one. We think of Steph Curry running through 15,000 different screens and finding the open spot for the three. That wasn't what we were seeing. Steph Curry was just hitting open shots, and that's what Steph Curry does. Steph Curry hits open shots. Taking nothing away from the quarter, but Steph didn't choke. I don't even want to say the Warriors choked. I think this game plan in the back half was terrible. They had a problem of 12s last night. There were 2 12s on the box last night. That was insane. Number one, and most importantly, is Draymond Green under no circumstance in the NBA Finals should be shooting 12 shots. That's not a recipe for success. It's not. The other one is Andre Iguodala playing his first game in 5.5 weeks should not be playing 12 minutes, but more importantly, he shouldn't be playing most of his minutes in the fourth quarter of a close game one. That's unacceptable, and that I put solely on Steve Kerr because that was terrible because the Golden State Warriors are known for spacing. Well, when Draymond's 2 for 12, he's not an offensive threat anyway, but when he's 2 for 12, you're definitely not going to guard him. And Andre Iguodala is not the Andre Iguodala of old. And you're not going to guard him either. So Boston's basically playing 5-on-3 defense at this point because they're not going to. So what if Andre Iguodala or Draymond Green have a wide open shot? They hadn't been hitting them all game. So if you hit this one, that's fine. But like you haven't been hurting us there. And then also Jordan Poole, after starting off this playoff run on fire, was unplayable in the fourth quarter. That is also going to be a problem for the Golden State Warriors moving forward. But my biggest issue was Draymond taking 12 shots and Iggy playing 12 minutes, most of those minutes coming in the fourth quarter. And then importantly,
and that's a product of what you just said, which is to my greatest point where I said, like, I stressed on this all week. Boston had to punish Golden State for playing Jordan Poole. And that's exactly what they did on both ends. Jordan Poole was atrocious offensively because they got up in his skin. And Jordan Poole cannot mark any of them. The moments he played, I think he was a minus 18 in that game in 24 minutes. Absolutely punished him. And so it led then, you couldn't play Jordan Poole in fourth quarter, which Golden State wants to do. So they had to rely on playing Iguodala. And as you said, that's not space anymore. And part of that also is because Boston has really, really made some great adjustments. What is not really talked about a lot, Boston downsized and went small. So they took out Robert Williams. And what that meant is that they couldn't, Golden State in response, could not keep Kevon Looney on the court because then how are you going to match up with Al Horford outside in the perimeter? So Boston basically spaced the floor. They dared Al Horford to make shots, and well, that is exactly what Al Horford did. So I really think this was a masterclass from Ime Udoka. They made sure to punish Jordan Poole every time he stepped on the court, forcing them to play a man who had no business being on the court. And this is not to take away from Andre Iguodala. I think Iguodala is a very good player, but just not at this moment in time. And they just opened the court and spaced it, forcing Golden State to try and match them going small, and worked out for them.
Here's the other thing, too, that I think is worrisome. When you think about guys like LeBron and guys like Kobe, guys like Giannis, even last year, even at Chris Paul or Devin Booker, those guys play at least 40 minutes in the finals. Steph Curry can play 40 minutes in the finals. He did not play 40 minutes in game one. I think he played a little over 30. I know they sat him in the last 30 seconds of the third quarter to get him a slight bit of rest, but then they also sat him the first 3.5 minutes of the fourth quarter. So there's 4 minutes right there. He was also sitting for 6 minutes, like for the entire second half of the first quarter, which I thought was insane because he was not, I'm sorry, no, the first half of the second quarter, he sat for the first 6 minutes. So that's 10 minutes of no Steph Curry. That is not,
again,
a recipe for success either.
You pointed to coaching, and again, this is Steve Kerr's fault. Part of the reason when you see certain coaches struggle in the postseason, and this used to be Budenholzer from the Bucks, is that they stick to their regimen and refuse to adjust. And this is Steve Kerr's typical subbing pattern as it comes to Steph Curry. Pulls him out late in the first quarter, rest him early second. Pulls him out late in the third quarter, rest him early in the fourth. Granted, he would have told himself he had a cushion in the fourth with that 12-point lead. But this is where you want to step on people's throat. You have to be able to adjust. And just because this works for you in the regular season, or it works all during the season or seasons prior, where you have these subbing patterns where it comes to to Steph Curry, you're correct. These are the NBA Finals. No, there's no, well, tomorrow or next day. What are you resting him for? This is a 7-game series. You try to get this out the way, and he has 4 or 5 months to rest in the offseason. You put your foot on people's throats. So your inability to adjust as it comes to the subbing pattern of Steph Curry, that's a failing there on Steve Kerr.
Yeah, it 100% is. And I think, look, Steph finished with 34 points. He didn't have a bad game, but he didn't have the game that he was on pace to have, primarily because no one scored in the last 6 minutes, and also because of the resting. Now, on the other side of things, and this is what I really want to talk about, it's the Boston Celtics, so obviously get the job done and take nothing away from the Boston Celtics. But to me, this game was an anomaly. Marcus Smart, Derek White, and Al Horford were 15 of 23 from 3. And to quote Draymond Green, the Warriors will be fine. You cannot, you can't, I wouldn't bet on that happening again. Not saying that it's not going to happen again, but it's likely not going to happen again. And so we're making a great deal about Boston being able to get the job done with Jayson Tatum only going 3 of 17. But you can't bet on that. You cannot bet on Horford, Smart, and White combining for 15 to 23 because Marcus Smart is not consistent shooting the ball. Al Horford, while though he has the ability to, you should not at all be relying on Al Horford for a large lump sum of your offense, which is what they were doing in game one. It worked for them, but that is not what you should be doing. And Derek White had a phenomenal game, and it was great, fantastic for Derek White. But you also can't rely on Derek White if you're going to win a championship. Jayson Tatum, though, 13 assists, career high for him. No matter what the situation is, playoffs or regular season. It's also a new record in the NBA for finals debut, 13 assists at the most. I think Isaiah Thomas, Michael Jordan, and I want to say Stockton all had 12 in their first NBA finals game back in the whenevers. Those records are now broken. I really was so glad that Jayson Tatum got 13 assists in that game so that I can have you on this show.
Mm-hmm.
All you like to do is talk about how Jayson Tatum can't pass the ball and can't distribute. And Jayson Tatum did just that. Now, granted, he did it out of necessity because he needed to.
No, but
he wasn't being productive.
I'm glad to see that development of this game because that needed to happen to see the ascension to superstar status. So, yeah, I have to take people to the face because I've said all along I don't like Jayson Tatum or Jaylen Brown as passers.
So I know this has been the one thing I've kind of always talked about. It's Jayson Tatum's status as a superstar, and people ask me about it. Let's play the what if game, and it's only game one, but let's project, right? And let's do both. Let's say the Celtics lose this series. Is Jayson Tatum a superstar if the Celtics lose this series? Like Jayson Tatum plays as Jayson. Like this game one is an anomaly. Jayson Tatum finishes out the series playing as the Jayson Tatum that we all know and love. Well, I know and love, you know and admire, I guess. But they lose. Is Jayson Tatum a superstar?
I don't want to say because they lose that should change something. I will say for this certainty, if they win, like I can't.
Yeah, because if they win, he'll have a championship and the Finals MVP. And the only guy in my superstar class, I only got 7 superstars in the league, maybe 8. The only guy in my class of superstars that has no personal accolades as far as hardware is Luka. That's just because Luka's been in his prime from the moment he stepped foot on a basketball court. Jayson Tatum would be there if he wins, but if he loses,
it depends on the numbers he puts up. Because obviously, like we can't continue to do this. Sure. I mean, this isn't enough, but
not acceptable.
I'd have to say this. I would be hard pressed to leave him out because the reason being, like, just to get your team to the finals, look at who you had to play, and you were the best player on your team getting them there.
Sure.
You had to get through prior champions in Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and you personally took on the assignment of Kevin Durant, and every time you guarded Kevin Durant, he looked absolutely terrible. The next round was Giannis Antetokounmpo, who, for me, is the best player in the league, and also the reigning Finals MVP, defending champs, 2-time regular season MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, and you got by him, trailing 3-2. Then the next round, you got by a guy who was 2 years removed from taking his team to the Finals. Yeah, these performances, like, as I said, you've known my one knock on Jayson Tatum was his ability to make teammates better. And we saw just that, especially fourth quarter. But like Golden State made it their mission to take the ball out of Jayson Tatum's hands. He made passes, and these guys damn well hit shots. Like, that is what you want your superstars to do. You're not scoring. And Jayson Tatum found other ways. He rebounded the ball. He passed the ball. He defended his position. I can't see, like, what more can they ask Jayson Tatum to do? Like, yeah, if they lose and he puts up the numbers that he did for the entire playoffs, I'm gonna have to say he's basically on the brink of superstardom.
How would you grade Jayson Tatum game one on a grade school scale, A, B, C, D?
I've said B, because a lot of people put things into scoring, but the reality of the situation is you have to do whatever it takes, and scoring is just one facet of the game. As much as I know we like to, like Kyrie Irving said it, Uncle Drew, this game is about getting buckets. But in reality situation, there's more to that. Jayson Tatum defended the hell out of the basketball in that second half. And you mentioned the 13 assists, the 5 rebounds. Your players hit shots, not just because of your passing, but the attention that the defense, Golden State, had to put on you. Like, they don't hit those shots without Golden State putting their defensive attention on you. That is you. Granted, also, like, the person who really came up biggest in game one was really Jaylen Brown. But again, like, there's a reason Al Horford is open. There's a reason that Derek White can see some space, even though he hit some ridiculous shots. Marcus Smart is open for a reason. That's because of the defensive focus that Golden State is putting on Jayson Tatum. Yes, he didn't score, but that's just one facet of the game.
I love Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum's fantastic. Jayson Tatum has superstar talent, but Jayson Tatum gets a C- from me, honestly.
Ooh,
being honest. I know it's gonna sound harsh, and I'm gonna get some friends gonna say that I'm hating on Jayson Tatum. But let's think about it for a second, right? Jayson Tatum was a first-team All-NBA player this season with Luka, with Devin Booker, with your MVP, and with Giannis Antetokounmpo. If Kevin Durant goes 3 for 17 in game one of the NBA Finals, we crucify Kevin Durant. We'd crucify LeBron. We'd likely crucify Giannis, although we all love Giannis. I know we'd crucify Steph if he went 3 for 17 in game one. We'd crucify Luka if he went 3 for 17. And I think to a degree we'd crucify Jokic. We'd crucify Embiid for going 3 for 17. I'm not going to crucify Jayson Tatum for going 3 for 17. It's his NBA Finals debut. You want to come some slack, come some slack, but that is unacceptable. For the best player on the team to be 3 for 17, that is not becoming of a first team All NBA player. It's not becoming of a superstar. Now, that doesn't mean that he is not talented and fantastic and the best player on the team, because he is. But going 3 for 17 in the NBA Finals is strictly unacceptable. The assists were brilliant. 13 assists is fantastic, right? I'm not ignoring the 13 assists, but what I'm saying is that was out of necessity. That was because Jayson Tatum needed to do something, because clearly the shots were not falling. You could chalk it up to nerves, you can chalk it up to whatever, but 3 for 17 is 3 for 17 no matter what it is, and it's in the NBA Finals. This isn't a random Tuesday in October. This isn't first game out of the All-Star break. This isn't last game going into the All-Star break. This is the NBA Finals. And if anyone else went 3 for 17, all we would see on ESPN and Fox Sports and anything that covers sports, because this is it's not the only sport that's on. There's other sports on. This is the only NBA stuff that's on right now. Everybody would be crucifying anybody else if they did this. Now, again, I'm not crucifying Jayson Tatum, but I think a B is a little bit too nice. And I'm surprised that you gave him a B specifically. Because
to defend Jayson Tatum,
that's wow, opposite day. Okay, but it's fine. It's fine.
I'll say this, right?
This is gonna continue for Jayson Tatum, of course. This is obviously an anomaly, but it's not acceptable.
First NBA, right? I'll say this. Not again to cry down Jayson Tatum. I don't think he deserved that. Because, all right, not that the performances or the stat line didn't merit that. The reason I don't think he should have been all NBA first team is because of positions. Because reality situation.
Okay, well, obviously, reality
three best players
should have been there as well. You're right.
And it should have been Embiid, Jokic, and Giannis. But because of position, the MVP and the MVP frontrunner played the same center position. So that's why Jayson Tatum would have snuck in and got that fifth spot. And again, if the result, had Boston not won that game, then I'm crying it down. But I live in they won. So
I mean, of course, the win makes it a little less, but the win makes the 3 for 17 a lot less boom. But it's still the best player on the team on the biggest stage, 3 for 17, and that's a big thing. What are and Jaylen Brown's incredible. Marcus Smart, they all stepped up, but you can't rely on Smart, Horford. Again, 15 to 23, that's likely, this is probably going to be the best shooting night the Boston Celtics have had this entire series. Because here's the truth about it, and it's hard to play in Boston when you're the away team. This team is not, they play well at home, but they don't play well at home. They have a nice home record, but this is a young team, and there are standards, and there's an expectation when you're on the home floor in Boston. They don't play as freely as they do on the road. And that could come back to bite them. Now, as we always say, right, a playoff series doesn't start until a road team wins. The road team has won, specifically with the greatest fourth quarter differential ever in the NBA Finals, plus 24, I believe it was. But the reason why I don't think it's a win, big win, right? You're on the board. It's fantastic on the road, which gives you even more confidence in your first appearance for the entire team. Fantastic, right? Obviously, you win the game and you've got some confidence. But Boston allowed 30-plus points in all of the first three quarters. And it took an insane collapse in the fourth quarter for them to win the game. It also took them, obviously, to play great defense and realize that playing drop coverage on Steph Curry isn't going to work as well. Take nothing away from them. But I don't while the score obviously reflects a 12-point victory and it was 120 to 108. Here's the thing. The Warriors, if I'm not mistaken, they outscored the Celtics by 14 in the third quarter. And Steph Curry sits the first 3.5 minutes, and then they go on a little run to cut it back. But the Warriors were down by 2. So going up 12 into the fourth quarter, while it looks good, you're going up 12 in the fourth quarter without Steph Curry, which, as I've already said, was a terrible error of judgment from Steve Kerr. But then also, more importantly, they also didn't hit a shot. Right, 17-0 run. It's fantastic. I don't know if Boston can defensively sustain what we saw in the fourth quarter multiple times. In fact, I know they can't because they gave up 30 points in each of the first three quarters. Now, that's not to say that Boston doesn't have a shot, because as I've said 1,000 times over the course, while I do have the Warriors winning in 6, I could very easily see Boston winning this in 5 or 6 or 7. Like, this is truly a toss-up. Unlike Steezy, I'm just kind of married to my takes. I've been riding with the Warriors really since the offseason, so I'm still here with it. And it's fine. I like my pick. They're the better team, I think, in my estimation. But do you think Boston can sustain the fourth quarter play? Obviously not the rest of the series, because it's gonna you're hard pressed to hold the Golden State Warriors to 14 points the rest of the way each quarter. That's not going to happen. But as far as just keeping them under 30, I feel like would be the recipe for success if you're looking at it like that intricately on a quarter-to-quarter basis. And I don't know if they can do that. Like, I don't know if they can keep that up.
Defensively, I will say I think they can, not to the 14 points. I think they can sustain, because the first quarter for me was absolutely crazy. Like,
It was.
I was in a group chat with Neil and Larry, and I was completely flabbergasted at the game plan, because it was clear this was the game plan to start. I'm like, what are you doing? And as you said, it took Marcus Smart to tell them. I don't know if he had the blessing of his coach, but he was like, no, this drop coverage has to stop.
But Marcus Smart's one of the guys, like, even if you didn't have the blessing, like, it's like,
yeah,
this guy would makes sense. Yeah.
It's understood that, this guy's the captain of the squad. So I think defensively they can sustain. It is the other end that you mentioned. Like, they had some incredible shot making, and I don't know that happens again. Like, I don't know that you are getting the production from that Lawford of Smart, Horford, and White again. That like, you getting Al Horford 26 points. You may get 26 points from him for the combined rest of the series. So this is shooting I'm concerned about, because, as you know, my concern with Boston is that they get so ISO heavy, and I think that was what we saw in the fourth quarter was a product of, one, again, Golden State focusing their defensive attention on Jayson Tatum, and 2, just some incredible shot making that we may never see again from Boston in the series. So when Draymond said that Golden State, they're good, I live with that, I accepted that response, because you don't expect those 3 guys to do that again. The defense, I would expect to be a lot better than what we saw in the first 3 quarters, because, like you said, it wasn't Steph Curry going off. It was Steph Curry hitting open jump shots. And that's, for a great defensive team, arguably the best in the NBA. You just don't expect Boston to do that. So to answer your question, I expect better, or that sustained effort for Boston on defense in the rest of the series. Not keeping them to 14 points. I don't expect that again.
Yeah, but the defensive intensity will definitely still be there. I don't expect Jayson Tatum to give us another tour date. I also don't expect those guys to combine. So, like, it's really the other thing too is Klay Thompson didn't touch the ball at all in that 17-0 run, which I thought was also a grave error in judgment on the part of Steve Kerr. Now, I told you before the show that I came across an interesting parallel between Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, and probably, I don't think they're the greatest duo of all time, but one of them, definitely top 5. And Jordan and Pippen. Jordan and Pippen in their finals debut was in 1991. That was their 12th playoff series together. I believe Jordan was 28 and Pippen was 25, or maybe I have the ages mixed up. They were going up against the Los Angeles Lakers, who had been to 6 of the last 8 NBA finals and had won 3 rings over that span. They won that finals in 6, I think. 5 or 6. I know that, but it was 5 or 6.
I think it was 5.
Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, 24-25. This is their 12th playoff series together. They both play the wing, just like MJ and Pippen do. They're going up against the Golden State Warriors, who have been to 6 of the last 8 NBA finals and have won 3 rings in that span. That was really interesting to me. Do you think, let's say, and again, we're projecting, and we'll talk about game 2 in a second, but again, just one more projection here. Let's say Boston wins and however many. Do you think Boston becomes the team to beat in the East? as far as, I mean, because you still got Philly, you still have Milwaukee, obviously your beloved Bucks as of 11 months ago. You've got the Heat, obviously, and you have like some other teams in there too. But do you think, and the Nets, if they can figure out with KD and Kyrie and whatever, do you think Boston is like the team to beat in the East? Should they keep this momentum and win the finals, however many games it takes?
I like to go with defending champions and give them the benefit of the doubt. I would say they would still be one of them because I don't know what improvement other than with their own player improvement that Boston could do next season. The reason I bring that up,
I think, would be the one, and that's no shot at Marcus Smart because Marcus Smart is their facilitator. But like Marcus Smart is their facilitator because he's not a good enough shooter to play the two. And he's proven to be better than Dennis Schroeder, which that was a terrible, terrible payday for the Boston Celtics to pay Dennis Schroeder. And he's proven to be better than Kemba Walker in this role simply because Kemba's injury and things of that sort. And also Kyrie as well. It's like he's just kind of beating them all out. And now he's like their de facto point guard and he makes it work and he plays good defense. So it all kind of fits. But I feel like they're going to need a guy that actually does this. And I don't know what that means for Marcus Smart. Or who exactly that person will be. Maybe a Ricky Rubio. I don't know. A Rondo, bring him back. I don't know. But like Marcus Smart's fantastic at his job. He is fantastic at his job on both ends of the floor. But really the reason why he is their point guard is because he's not good enough to be the two. And originally when he came in, he was supposed to be there too. Marcus Smart can't shoot. I feel like that would be the only improvement.
And therein lies the problem now. This is not to take anything away from Boston, but we saw Milwaukee take a 3-2 lead on that team without their second best player. We have to believe that Chris Middleton is going to come back next season, back to his usual self. Sure. So that's what I see. Like I put Boston up there, but I still think Milwaukee is better because if that team can take you to 7 with a 3-2 lead without Chris Middleton, they're getting back a 3-time All-Star in that dude. They are better at the point guard position, obviously, with Jrue Holiday. They have an unquestionable superstar, whether you put him first, second, or third best player in the league. Giannis is a superstar. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. Like, on paper, healthy, this Milwaukee team is better than Boston. So that's why I'd say I would hesitate to say they're the team to beat in the East because I would have to see some level of improvement. But that's not to say that because next season, who is to say that Jayson Tatum doesn't take another leap to become?
I expect him to, and I want to be very clear about my take on Jayson Tatum. I don't think that Jayson Tatum will never be a superstar. I just think that, and when the finals are all said and done, no matter what happens, I do have on planning one of my good guys that I know. Come on, we'll talk about superstar talent and superstars. Jayson Tatum has superstar talent. I know that. I recognize that. I'm not an idiot. I just don't think he's in that class yet. If you put him there, I can't get mad at you for it. Like I'm not gonna.
I'm there with you. You've heard me say it.
He's not one of those guys. Let's see. He's not like a Jimmy Butler type of guy. Well, like even Jimmy though, like no, because I'm hard set on Jimmy's not a superstar, and Jimmy doesn't care. Like Jimmy doesn't care that he's not a superstar. But like if you say Jimmy's a superstar, it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's not that Jayson Tatum doesn't have superstar talent. I just think Jayson he's right there. You know what I mean? And I think we've got to see it again. This is the first real, and it's not that he hasn't had good seasons since he's been, because he's been making improvements every year he's been in the league. But this is really the first real season where we look at Jayson Tatum like, whoa. Not even on like not even on like he's one of the best young guys in the league, because we were saying that last year that he was one of the best young guys in the league. But this was the year when Jayson Tatum was like, no, I'm not just one of the best young guys in the league. Like I have the potential to be one of the best players in the league, regardless of age, regardless of experience, regardless of position. And he's proven that. And to your point, right, to go one up, so like to be the primary defender on Kevin Durant and get past the Nets, to be the primary or secondary defender on Giannis Antetokounmpo and get past the Bucks, to be the primary and or secondary defender on Jimmy Butler and get past the Heat. Like those are two guys that are top 10, one guy that you can say is top 15. He's most definitely top 20 in the league in Jimmy Butler. But I mean, top 15 is not I think Jimmy Butler's top 15. Obviously, I don't put him in the top 20. I think you're being a little bit too hard on him. But like those are three guys that are cream of the crop in your conference that play your position, and you got past all of them. So clearly, like the ability is there and the talent is there. But I always say he doesn't have the accolades, and I just want to see this again. Like if we get if what we saw this season, Jayson does next season and then improves on it, or even if we just do whatever he did this season, do that again next season, and the Celtics are right back in this same general spot, maybe not in the finals, because to your point, Chris Middleton will be back. I would assume that the 76ers will figure out whatever it is they need to figure out up there. I would hope the Nets figure out what's going out there with the Nets, because I'm really sick of this whole KD thing with that, and we'll talk about that in a second too. Like it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. But Jayson Tatum can get the job done. And I think next year, for sure, I think the conversation of whether or not Jayson Tatum is a superstar or not will be null and void. It'll be very clear either he is or he isn't. And to be clear, he's a lot closer to being a superstar than he is not. Like he's either like at this point in Jayson Tatum's career, if everything else goes south, Jayson Tatum will either be a really solid player or he'll be a superstar. Like that's it. Like his ceiling his floor is incredibly high, and I recognize that. I just think we're too quick to kind of anoint guys.
I'm with you, right?
The only guy that I've done it with at his age is Luka, and that's because Luka's been in his prime from the moment he stepped foot on a basketball court, and because he's been playing professionals in Europe since he's been 10 years old. So it just kind of comes.
I want to put it that my Phoenix Suns made the biggest error, and they said it from year 2.
Drafting DeAndre 1 overall.
DeAndre in number 1 overall over Luka Doncic. And you know why it was so blatantly bad? What a lot of people don't know, or people who are not Phoenix Suns fans know, we hired Luka Doncic's European coach as our head coach in that draft.
You did.
You hire his coach and then you don't draft him? Like,
yeah.
That is
Bozo alert.
And the thing is, yeah. I don't want to use the word dysfunction because, as you know, Thing is a good friend of mine. So, but
did he make that decision?
I don't know who made the decision. I quite honestly don't. But
was he in the front office when that decision was made?
Yeah, he was in the front office. Like, you know what?
I won't put you in a binding position.
You can put me in an awkward position because the rumors I have heard are not from him. What I have heard is that they wanted, because you know that Aiden is from Arizona.
Yes.
So the thing was to sell tickets and to push this as a hometown boy staying at home.
That's fair. And that's not a bad marketing technique, but now you don't want to pay him. So
again, and if you hear that, obviously then you know it comes from higher than the front office. So let's leave it there.
Of course. But I won't put you in any more awkward positions the rest of the show. We've seen game 1 historically, or just overall, if I'm not mistaken, 80% of the time the team that wins game 1 goes on to win the finals. But in the 17 times in NBA history when the road team has won the NBA finals, only 8 of them have gone on. When the road team has won game 1, only 8 of those 17 teams have actually won it all. So do the Celtics win game 2, or do you have the Warriors sending it back to Boston all tied up? And more importantly, is this game 2 on Sunday must win for the Warriors?
Of course it is. Like, all right. First, let me say this, You made reference to it. Boston in these playoffs are not exactly unbeatable at home, And I think, again, to your point, it's because of the standards set in Boston, the pressure is put on them. Like, you're trying to live up.
Not to cut you, the only team to not beat them at home is the Nets, and that's because they swept the Nets.
Yep. Like, they lost 2 at home to Milwaukee. They lost 2 at home to the Heat. Yep. And I think part of that is living up to the expectations of the Bill Russell 60s.
Can't believe you let off with Bill Russell.
Of course, you know I was going to do that. But the Bill Russell Celtics, the Larry Bird Celtics, and then the Big 3 or Big 4 era, like, you are living up to those expectations. So they are not exactly unbeatable at home. But I don't know you going down 2-0 or 2-0 to this Celtics team, knowing full well they can beat anyone on the road, and they've shown that. No, that's 8 road wins in 3 and a piece of the series. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is a must-win game. Like, you do not want to leave Golden State with a 2-0 hole because regardless, forget home court or forget playing on the road. That's down to like how has Golden State ever? Well, yes, actually they have. They have one series in which they've come from behind a big deficit, and that is a dramatic 3-1 collapse that
which was the beginning of all of this dynastic ring, yeah.
Which led to breaking up of OKC, and as you said, basically helped to propel Golden State's title run. Actually, the whole dynasty. But yeah, going back, I honestly think this is a must-win situation because let's for argument's sake say you can go back and win 2 games in Boston, which is very, 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 very realistic. How many times have Golden State really come from down to love in a series? And I don't think ever. Like you don't want that scenario.
Not in the finals, I don't think.
And then they're
only actually, not to cross again, they've actually never been behind in a series. The only time they were behind in a series was against the Raptors.
Well, they've been behind, but not as currently constructed. Like when before Draymond would have elevated into starting lineup or whatever, not when it was the two Splash brothers.
I mean, in the finals. I don't think they've been down in the finals. Yeah, because they lost. They obviously were down to the Raptors. They lost that series 4-2. I think they were down 3-2 going into Game 6, and then the collapse. They were up 3-1 against the Cavs. They've never been down. It's always been they were up or it was tied. They've never.
And you don't want to give that confidence to a young team like Boston, and that if the shot making is not going to continue, but that defense will. So you just don't want to give that confidence to Boston team that can night in, night out have something to rely on, which is their defense. So I honestly believe this is a must-win scenario for Golden State.
I just wanted to pull up a quick stat very quickly. In the history of basketball, I lost it. I'm sorry, people. So in the history of basketball, right, not including the finals, so we're just talking about just series altogether, okay? In the history of basketball, a total of 442 playoff series have at some point been 2-0, right? Now, obviously, 410 of those 442 teams have won that series. That's about 93%. Only 32 of them have recovered. The most recent one, in the finals at least, was last
2006.
Say it again?
That had to be 2000. Oh, sorry, no. Actually, LeBron's
last year.
Yeah.
I mean, the most recent 0-2 recovery was last year in the finals, Bucks and Suns. Suns were up 2-0, and the Bucks won 4 straight, right? The Cavs obviously did it in 2016. The Heat in 2006 did it. The Trailblazers in 77 did it, and then your beloved 1969 Celtics did it against the Lakers. So it is conceivable, and that is why I don't think this is a must win. I would also double down on that by saying that the Warriors have been here before. They haven't been in this situation before, but they've been here before. I think the Warriors will win, but if they lose, it's not the end of the world. Because as much as we talk about Boston being exceptional on the road, again, they've lost 4 games at home this season in the postseason, and they've played they've played 9 games at home so far this season. They've lost 4 of them. So, like, they're a game over 500 at home on the road. And it's only because it's an odd number of home games that they play. So Boston has not been unbeatable at home. And that is a point worth referencing.
I will say, though, to your point quickly before you continue, I don't think any of those teams that you mentioned that came from an 0-2 hold were the home seed, though. So, like, when Cleveland came back, they were not the home. They were not the home team. When Milwaukee came back, they were not the home team.
They were not the home team. No.
When the Miami Heat in 2006 came back, they were not the home team. So that's what I said. It's even going to be.
It's fair. No, that is fair. That is fair. And I was going to mention that. Like, none of those teams did not have the Game 7 advantage of be able to play that game at home. But what I do think what's happened is a couple things. I think we always talk about the historically bad shooting nights and how, like, the most notable one of all, the Rockets missing 27 straight threes a couple years ago when they could have went to the finals. Terrible. And that's usually what we talk about. We don't talk about the historically good ones. And again, take nothing away from the Celtics. This was a historically good shooting night. the largest fourth quarter deficit in the history of basketball in the finals, plus 24. The most threes made in the NBA finals in the fourth quarter. They were 9 for 12. They hit their first 7. As amazing as that is, you can't count, again, on Smart, White, and Horford going 15 to 23, which, again, brings back to Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum can't go through 17 again. I don't think he will. Like, I don't think this is going to be a DeMar DeRozan thing where I think DeMar DeRozan against the Bucks with, like, 4 for 21 and said, oh, yeah, that'll never happen again. And then the next game, he went, like, 5 of 20. Yeah, no, this is not – that's not going to happen for Jayson Tatum. He's going to hit his shots. Like, he's going to – I know I gave him a C. I just really chalk it up to just being nervous and all that stuff. The other thing too worth noting. No, I'm not going to mention that. I'm not even going to do that. I was going to do it, but I don't want to do it because that's.
Oh, come on!
I don't like when they do it. I don't like when they do it, so I'm not going to do it. I think Jayson Tatum will be better. I have the Warriors winning this game. I always thought that going into Boston, this would be a 1-1 series. I thought that Golden State won game 1, and they looked like they were going to until the end of the fourth quarter, and then I thought Boston would get it together and win game 2. It'll just be reversed. I have the Warriors winning, being tied up at going into Boston. The one interesting thing also, though, is, and I'm just off the top of my head, aside from the Nets series, obviously, because they won 4 straight, I don't think Boston has in any of these series, I'm just staying on top of my head, I don't know if Boston has won 2 consecutive games on the road this run. If memory serves, I don't know if they have. If they have, I mean, that's cool. I don't think they have. I don't think they've gone back to back on the road.
No, they have not.
I expect that to continue. It's hard pressed for me to see Golden State down 0-2 going into Boston. I don't think it's a must win though, because even though they are the home team, we've seen it happen before several times in the NBA finals. We've seen it happen even just over the course of the regular playoffs with teams that are the home team. It is doable. It is possible. Whether or not it happens, I don't know, but it is very possible. But I don't even think it will get to that point. I think Golden State will be fine. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll be okay. I think you're being a little bit too hard on those boys. I think they'll be fine. And you know, whatever, like Steph Curry wins this chip and he'll be top 10 and Justin will ride in the streets by himself because
top 10. We'll see. We'll see.
Bill Russell all the time. That I know for a fact. Not to hash that up again because that was an explosive night.
You can bring that up.
That was an explosive night before, during, and after the show.
Yeah, I don't. You can have him above Bill Russell, but I don't have him above Hakeem and Duncan. But that's another conversation for another time.
That's fair. And if you want to see that conversation, go watch the episode from when
you really should.
It was an hour and 33 minutes long, and I wish I kept the camera rolling after the show.
You should have. They think that would have been. If you kept the camera rolling, that would have been a better episode than actually during the actual episode. And I can tell you.
Oh man, that would have been a must-watch TV. Thank you, Justin, for coming on the show, and again, happy birthday to you, man.
Thank you so very much
for watching. Thank you guys for listening. I know I messed up the schedule a little bit. Originally, the Hell in a Cell show was supposed to come out today, but then I forgot that the final started on Thursday. So the Hell in a Cell show with Sal came out on Saturday. So please listen to it, watch it, love it. And then, of course, you're already listening and watching to this. So thank you guys for that. Please check out any of the old episodes you've missed. We have more football on the horizon coming up this week.
I find it hell of impressive that you found a way to stay committed to bringing out these previews and reviews in football league.
I try my best, man. It's a difficult thing to do. It's been difficult. We're starting with the Bears on Monday, Falcons on Wednesday, Broncos on Friday, and the long-awaited debate about what a Super Bowl contender is with my good buddy Steve Smith. That's gonna be fantastic because I, for the life of me, can't understand how there's 16 teams in the AFC, and according to the world, 8 of them are Super Bowl contenders. Doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
Doesn't make sense to me. But we'll get to the bottom of it, and you'll hear my real thoughts on Russell Wilson. And
there are some AFC West teams that I think people are still overrated, and not particularly one in Las Vegas.
Broncos is one of them.
I saw you thinking, but that one in Las Vegas, I got my question marks.
Well, Vegas is Vegas, but we'll dive into all that stuff and so much more. The offseason, you're right. It has been impressive. I don't know how I've done it, but I am committed to the cause of getting it done. And I appreciate all of you guys. Before I let Justin plug, we're coming up on 2 years, August 2nd. It's going to be great. I don't know what's going to happen that day. I don't even know what day that is, but I just know we're coming up on 2 years of Go Talk. And then also September 1st is going to be a fantastic day in history. So make sure you star your calendars for that because it's going to be a big day. Justin, please let everybody know where they can find you and all your stuff.
Well, again, before I go, as his good friend, my good friend Steve Smith loves to do, like, please, if you're not already subscribed, just subscribe to Dab Show. It's good stuff. Like, it's like, and you're not subscribing to nonsense, and there's constant content coming out like almost every other day. Well, sorry, every day.
I dropped the show every day this week, actually.
Every
I dropped the show on Sunday. I dropped the show on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't think I did anything on Thursday. Thursday was my only break, but I recorded on Thursday.
So you see,
I recorded 2 episodes on my birthday for you people. That's how much I'm committed to the cause.
So it doesn't make any sense saying I'm not subscribing to this because there's not content. There's content. So please just subscribe wherever you are, wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching. To find me, it's hashtag thisJUSTin. Please put the hashtag in. None of us want to listen to Matt Kellerman. Really. So put the hashtag in. We are live every single Monday, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube. Well, YouTube for those who are actually watching on YouTube. Otherwise, you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Instagram, you can find us on Twitter. Just be sure to put hashtag thisJUSTin afterwards.
It's always a pleasure to have Justin on the show, even though he's a habitual pain in my side. He'll be back at some point. Again, Bears on Monday, Falcons on Wednesday.
Oh God!
And
I just told people to subscribe to your show, and they were telling them that you'd have to watch Bears and Falcons. Like, you're ruining it. Like.
But yeah, I'm sorry, people, but they're part of the league, unfortunately. Bears on Monday, Falcons on Wednesday, Broncos on Friday. We'll continue to, of course, recap every game of the finals until the end. Hell in a Cell is on Sunday as well. Yeah, it's been an episode every day this week. There will be an episode given the schedule every day next week too, probably. So much content that I'm running out of storage on my hosting site for the show. I got to try to either upgrade my plan or figure out what's.
You're gonna have to upgrade.
Because you get 100 storage hours, which is about 100 episodes, given that all my episodes are at least 45 minutes. So, that's not anything for you guys to be worried about. That's just something I just realized off the top of my head now that Justin said that. I do seriously enjoy doing all this. It is truly a pleasure. Got a couple interviews lined up in the coming months or so. Wrestlers,
awesome,
race car drivers, entrepreneurs. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We've casted the net. We're just waiting to see who responds. So again, for Justin of the hashtag thisJUSTin Sports Show, this is Marcus of Go Talk with Marcus signing off. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, you guys enjoy the rest of your lives.